Hi, it's Maija here, and today I'm going to talk about the top 10 longest books on my TBR. So I have seen this sort of video going around a while ago, and most recently I watched Cass from What Cass Read do this, and then I thought, why not do it myself? I was sort of curious at how long the longest books on my TBR were, so I'm only going to be talking about the books on my own physical TBR, and not my ebook TBR or my whole Goodreads TBR or anything, just the books that I own. And I am cheating a bit, I am including 11 books, because 2 of the books on this list are from the same series, so I thought why not add one more, and also because that made the cutting off point at 500 pages. So these are all the books over 500 pages that I own. It also works out because 500 pages is sort of the point where I usually go, do I want to read this book now? Or do I want to pick up something shorter and read this later? So since I haven't read these, I can't tell you a lot about each of these books, but let's go and see what are the books that I own that are over 500 pages. So just making this list at 508 pages is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this is perhaps the book that I own the longest out of this pile. And I originally picked it up because I was interested in the circus theme, and also the fact that this was originally written as a NaNoWriMo novel. I don't know anything else about this than it is about circus and a couple of rival magicians, I believe. Next up is Corambis by Sarah Monette at 513 pages, and this is part of a fantasy series that I bought all of the books. There are 4 books, and this is the final one in the series. I bought all of them at eBay in one bunch, and I haven't read the rest of the series yet, so I can't have read this final book in the series. This is a dark fantasy series. I don't know much about this. I just know that I loved The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison, which is a pen name of Sarah Monette, so I wanted to try out her other books. Next up comes a new release, The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and this is one of those books that was bought to me as a birthday gift in December, and I am planning to read this quite soon. This is 532 pages. This is nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards in the debut novel category, I think it was. It is about Jinn, and I think it's set in Cairo. 18th century Cairo, so it is a historical fantasy novel, and I don't really want to know much about it. I think the main character is a young woman who perhaps has magic, and she meets this Jinn. At 561 pages comes Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Curry, which is the first book in the Expanse series. This is also one that I've owned for quite a while, a long while before the TV series started, and I have actually watched the first season of the TV series, which I quite enjoyed, so I am looking forward to this. It's about this group of people on this ice miner, and then also this one detective looking into a missing girl, and they all get tangled up into this political tangle. I'm waiting to feel like reading some space opera, and then I will pick this one up. But one thing that is deterring me a bit is that I know that my favorite character from the TV series, I think she's called Avesarala, isn't in this book yet. Next I have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, and this is a chunky hardcover that clocks in at 594 pages. I believe this is part of an urban fantasy series. It has witches and vampires, and it might be a trilogy, and it might be called the All Souls trilogy, but I'm not 100% sure. I basically picked this up because it was very cheap and it had vampires in it. Almost moving on to the 600-page mark, we have Lois McMaster Bujold's Cordelia's Honor at 596 pages. This is actually 2 books in one. This is Barayar and Shards of Honor, and these are the books that are recommended to read first in the Miles Vorkosigan series, which is this long-running science fiction series where the main character is called Miles Vorkosigan, but these books tell about his mother, Cordelia. I found this at a thrift store for under €1, so of course I picked it up. I've been meaning to read something from Lois McMaster Bujold for ages, but I think I'm gonna start with The Curse of Chalion, which has been on my fantasy TBR for ages. It's on my ebook, so let's not talk about it more now. At 599 pages, we have another chunky hardcover, and that is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And this is a young adult science fiction book featuring 2 teens and an AI on a spaceship. That's all I know. It was pretty popular, it is pretty popular even still on BookTube, and I won this in a giveaway from Libby like a year ago, and I still haven't read it. Sorry Libby, I'm gonna read it this year. So now we're moving on to books that are over 600 pages, and at 630 pages I have Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. This is the second book in the Gentleman Bastard series, and I think this is featuring pirates. I did quite enjoy The Lies of Locke Lamora, not as much as a lot of people did, but I did really like it and I found it fun. This is also one that I've owned for a long while and been putting off because it's so long. Please tell me in the comments that I should finally read this book. So this is a high fantasy series about this group of thieves, and it manages to be quite clever at times. Also at 630 pages I have Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb, the trilogy where we return to Fitz and the Fool once again, and I'm sort of dreading reading this. I know I'm going to love it, but then there will be perhaps no more Fitz and the Fool books, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling both excited and hesitant to jump on this trilogy. So this is of course a part of a long-running high fantasy series, Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. The first book in the first trilogy was called Assassin's Apprentice, and that's the one that you should start with. So there's the Farseer trilogy, the Lifeship Traders trilogy, the Tournament trilogy, and the Rainwald's Chronicles, which is 4 books. And then there's this Fitz and the Fool trilogy. So if you want to read about a royal assassin and a royal fool, pick this one up. The second longest book on my TBR is The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. This is again one of those books that have been on my TBR for ages, and this is 704 pages. This is once again a vampire book. I have shown this many times before. I've always said that I will read this once I have reread Dracula. I've been saying that for about 2 years. I really need to reread Dracula. So yeah, Dracula actually I think features in this book, so I need to do that. And the longest book on my TBR is perhaps a bit anticlimactic because you saw one other book from this series in this video before, and that is The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch, and this is 722 pages. This is the third book in the Gentleman Bastard series. I don't know what they do in this one because I haven't read the second one, the pirate one. It sort of looks like this Venice Carnival mask thing, and I am all for that. So those were the top 10 longest books on my TBR. I think Illuminae is the one that would go by the fastest because it is written in sort of these interviews and stuff. But the one that I am most excited to read is The City of Brass, so I will read that quite soon, I think. I was going to say let me know if there's a hidden gem here, but I think the majority of these books are quite well known and quite well loved on BookTube. So just try to encourage me to pick up some longer books in the comments, and also tell me, what do you consider a long book? I do get that hesitant feeling at the 500-page mark, even though I like to read long fantasy books. None of these were like 900 pages like some of them are. I think the Fool's Assassin is actually quite short book for a Robin Hobb book at 630 pages. I thought it would be over 700 at least. But anyway, talk to me more in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.